In a big and noisy city, among high-rise buildings and busy streets, there lived a little boy named Nikita. He had a bright and kind personality, and despite the fact that his father left when he was only 4 years old, Nikita always remained an optimist. His mother, who stayed with him and took care of him, tried to surround him with love and care, doing everything possible so that he would never feel lonely. Every morning she made him his favorite oatmeal, and in the evening she read him fairy tales before going to bed. But sometimes Nikita missed his father's attention. He especially wanted someone to teach him how to ride a bike or play soccer with him, as other children do. He often looked at his neighbors who were playing together, and despite the fact that he had friends, he lacked special communication. Once, having received good grades for the first half of the year in the first grade, Nikita was full of joy. His mother, noticing his delight, decided to make him a wonderful surprise, to take him to his grandmother for the winter holidays. Nikita's grandmother lived in a small and peaceful village located 500 kilometers from the urban vanities. Every time he visited her, his joy was immense. Grandma was always waiting for him with open arms and homemade pies made with love. Every detail of his grandmother's house, from the smell of freshly baked bread to the tremulous creak of the wooden floor, evoked warm memories of unforgettable walks in the fresh air and the secluded, peaceful life of village life. On the way to his grandmother, Nikita's heart was filled with anticipation. He was looking forward with impatience and delight to see his native expanses, ride down the slides and play in the fresh air. Every time he drove past forests and fields, it seemed to him that he found himself in a real fairy tale world. When they finally reached his grandmother's house, her radiant smile and gentle hugs filled his soul with warmth. It was like returning to a world where there were no worries or worries. Grandma greeted Nikita with a tray of hot, delicious pies that had just been taken out of the oven. The aroma of fresh pastries filled the cozy house, and the boy felt at home again. At the table, they enjoyed pies together, sharing their stories and discussing all the delights of the past days. Grandma told him about how she used to go sledding as a child, pick berries and play hide-and-seek with friends, hiding behind old birch trees. These memories were full of happiness, and Nikita listened to her with his mouth open every second, dreaming that his childhood would be just as full of adventures. After an eventful lunch, Nikita went outside where nature was already covered with a snow-white blanket. He met a faithful shepherd named Marta. She was not only a wonderful caretaker, but also her grandmother's best friend. Marta approached Nikita with a joyful wagging of her tail, as if she knew that this was her new protector. Nikita immediately felt sympathy for her, and, snuggling into her soft fur, he realized that they would become real friends. Martha, as if sensing his thoughts, happily began to jump and play with him. The next day, when the sun was shining brightly and the snow was sparkling in the sun, Nikita and Marta went for a walk around the village. He was full of energy, knocking icicles off roofs and running past fir trees covered with snow, shouting with joy. He was looking for adventures like a real explorer, as if he was looking for treasures in every snow bush. Suddenly he noticed that there was a small pond not far from the village houses. He was hidden under a thin layer of snow, and Nikita, without realizing it, came closer with interest, trying to see what was going on under the white blanket. In a fit of joy, he ran straight onto the ice. Suddenly the snow cracked, and Nikita fell into the cold water. The boy could not swim, and in a panic he began to flounder. His screams echoed through the empty area, but no one could hear him. At this time, the world around him was plunged into darkness and cold, and he was afraid that this was the end of his adventures, and he would never see his loved ones again. But suddenly, as if by magic, Martha jumped out of the bushes. She sensed the boy's plight and, showing incredible courage, rushed to his aid. Her loyal loyalty and powerful instincts were working to the fullest. Marta grabbed his jacket tightly and pulled Nikita onto dry land. Full of adrenaline and shock, Nikita got out of the water and couldn't believe he was still alive. He ran to his grandmother, his heart pounding with fear and a terrible feeling of what had just happened. The grandmother immediately realized that something had happened and looked at her grandson with concern. She quickly wrapped Nikita in a warm blanket, poured him hot tea, and sat him down next to the stove, where the flame of the fir tree was a source of warmth and light. The boy was trembling, but soon he felt his body being filled with warmth. Grandma gently stroked his head, telling him that these were just temporary troubles. And Martha, when she returned, was excited. She clearly enjoyed being a hero. She wagged her tail proudly, as if she understood that she had done something very important. "Who would have thought that you would save my grandson? Such a brave little dog," said the grandmother, flattering Marta, who was presented with a large piece of meat as a reward for her courage. This hearty portion was well deserved, and Nikita, still stunned, looked thoughtfully at his best friend, realizing how much friendship meant. His fate was intertwined with Martha's at the moment when she came to his aid. From that moment on, Nikita became more cautious when walking, but he felt that he had a loyal defender with him, Marta. After that incident, they spent a lot of time together, playing snowballs and sledding, and every day brought them new adventures. Every evening they gathered by the fireplace, where Grandma told Nikita about nature, animals, and their peculiarities, and Nikita shared his dreams for the future. He dreamed of becoming an explorer, discovering new lands and helping everyone who needed it. On one of these evenings, Grandma noticed Nikita looking at books with admiration. "Are you really a reader?" "What is it?" she asked with interest. He liked books about adventures and fantasies, and he enthusiastically replied, "Yes, Grandma. I've always dreamed that I could walk through the pages and experience these adventures myself." With a smile, Grandma decided to show him her collection of antique books that were the keepers of ancient secrets. "I married your grandfather before the war." She began to tell one of the stories about each book. Each book had its own story, and Grandma talked about the places where she collected these treasures. Nikita sat in complete delight while Grandma shared her memories of how she searched for books in the old markets, where no one expected to find such valuable treasures anymore. These stories filled his heart with charm. He was full of desires to learn about what the world looks like in other countries, about distant lands and myths that people have. "Can we look at books about fairy tales?" he asked his grandmother, his eyes shining with curiosity. Grandma, laughing, replied, "Yes, we'll see what we have from fairy tales and magical stories." Nikita nodded his head cheerfully, realizing that the magic begins right here, in his grandmother's library. When the winter holidays came to an end, Nikita realized that this time was not only filled with happiness and joy, but also became a real school of life. More than ever, he felt the power of friendship, courage, and love, which were always there for him, even in the most difficult moments. His spirit became more confident. He realized that he would be able to overcome all obstacles. Every new day brought him something unusual. He learned how to catch snowballs with his hands, build snow fortresses, and even learned about some ancient crafts that his grandmother showed him while they worked together in her cozy home. They cooked food together, made crafts out of ice and papier-mâche, and later reminisced about their summer memories in the village. These moments will forever be remembered in his heart as symbols of happiness. But time flew by quickly, and soon it was time to return home. With sadness in his heart, Nikita said goodbye to his grandmother and Marta, promising that he would definitely visit them again. He hugged his grandmother tightly, feeling her warmth seep into his soul, and knew that her love would accompany him even from a distance. Here, away from the pulsating urban life, he will always find solace and support. Now, returning to the city, Nikita took with him not only memories of amazing adventures, but also a promise to return to the magical world that his grandmother and his faithful friend had given him. He knew that life is full of surprises, but with loved ones and loyal friends, you can cope with any difficulties. It was a simple but important truth. Every evening, returning from school, Nikita happily told his mother about his adventures, how he would jump down the hill, how much fun it was to play with Martha, and how many interesting things he learned from his grandmother while sitting by the fireplace. He shared his thoughts about how he often thought about his weekends, and how the novelty of everyday life inspired him. Nikita became even more confident in himself and now dreamed a lot about the future, imagining himself as a brave adventurer, exploring the world with Martha. He realized how important it is to have courage in your heart and openness to new adventures. Grandma became a real heroine for him, inspiring him to create his first stories and stories. Thus, the winter holidays became not just a vacation, but also a real school of life, which gave him an indescribable strength of spirit. He knew that fatherly support can come in many forms, and sometimes the most sincere bonds are formed with those who are close, who support even in the most difficult moments. Nikita found the courage to stand on his own 2 feet, and friendship blossomed in his heart, full of warmth and cozy understanding. And every time the spring sun shines on his window, Nikita will remember that magical winter when he became a little older and a little wiser, and when he realized that true friendship could be his greatest wealth. He can't wait to tell his friends about his new dreams, about how every life can be more interesting and fulfilling. He already dreams of new adventures, and how his friendship with Martha will be able to withstand any challenges, because both of them have now become true comrades.